All right, 22 minutes before 8 o'clock here on Morning Live. Today is the beginning of Anti-Racism Week. The event is an initiative by the Anti-Racism Network South Africa, which is spearheaded by Ahmed Kathrada Foundation as well as the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Its aim is to encourage people to learn about this prejudice, to also speak against it and to report it most importantly. But to tell us more about the week, we joined now by Neeshan Balton from the network as well as representing the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Oh, thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you so much indeed. This conversation has been going on for quite a while now. It's been over 3 years. Are we seeing light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, you must bear in mind that we're dealing with something that has got a lifespan of over 300 years. So to have spent at least 3-4 years of intense discussion is nothing. But I think we are seeing some progress. We're seeing a greater determination by victims of racism not to merely accept it, but to challenge it through the courts, through police action. We are also seeing corporates who are not tolerating it in their space by dismissing managers or taking away franchise licenses and so forth. But we're also seeing on a day-to-day basis ordinary South Africans taking to social media, exposing instances of racism and venting their outrage. Yeah. So I think that certainly the pendulum has swung away from silence about racism to being much more vocal about on issues of racism that people experience all over. Yeah,
I wanted to say it's all thanks to social media lately, because previously there was a challenge that victims are not reporting these cases, more so when you go to your deepest rural areas. Let's take, for example, the Victim Locha coffin case. Yes. Had it not been of social media, I believe we still haven't known about it.
No, precisely. As much as social media in some ways aids and abets racism, it's also a tool in the fight against racism. And I think we have been winning that fight to a large extent of late, particularly around instances where in these far-flung areas, but also in schools and corporate boardrooms. So I think anybody can be an anti-racism fighter today by just using the tools of technology that is available.
Yeah. And as I said to you, that we've seen a number of racially motivated cases, of course, coming to the fore, some of them going to the courts. That coffin case that I've just made an example of, the Penny Sparrow case where she went on Facebook to call blacks monkeys. What does it say about our society and its progressions?
Now, as I've said, and for me, racism is part of the DNA of this country. Its roots go back to slavery, to colonization, to apartheid, and it affects much of our day-to-day outlook and attitudes, sometimes very subtle, but sometimes very direct as well. So I don't think we must be surprised by instances of racism. What we hope to do in the course of this week and for the year ahead is to get South Africans to talk about what are the roots of these things, why do they exist? Because only in that way, I think, will the conversation begin to move towards, I think, finding the issues that underlie much of what we see in the news and read on newspapers as well. Yeah,
but I believe the victims are always willing to talk about these things. But the question is the perpetrators. Are they willing to open up?
When caught out, the first instinct is to apologize or to deny there is racism. But as you will see in the case that's in court at the moment with Vicky Mombek, here is somebody who's been found out to be guilty, but goes into court and still says that using the K word is not wrong in court itself. So in many cases, I think perpetrators of racism really believe that their views are right, and it's informed by an attitude that says, I have a right to be racist, my views are correct, but it's a notion of superiority that gets played out in the public domain.
I mean, we're seeing a lot of that. You still get South Africans who still believe in the old South African flag.
Many do, but that also is part of holding on to a past that for people had perhaps more meaning and more value, but is also informed by, as I say, a huge residue of racism that comes through from centuries now.
Now, let's talk about an app, because I was reading earlier this week that the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation has actually developed an app to report incidents of racism. Talk to us about that.
Well, together with the Gauteng Innovation Hub and one of the incubatees, we are piloting an app that we will launch tomorrow, which will enable South Africans to basically download this app from Google and then to use it either as victims or witnesses of instances of racism to then report it to the app. And we're piloting it for the month of March so that we understand, firstly, its ease of usage, but also to understand all of the back office support that such an app will require from us. It's a trend worldwide now in the fight against racism, so that institutions like ours and others can understand what's going on out there, but because it also allows for you to be anonymous, so we can monitor trends. But for those who want to give us the information, it allows us to then act on it, to refer it to the relevant organizations. But as we've been doing in the last few months, is to actually go and investigate these instances and issues of racism, and to then look at what needs to be done to address them where it is possible.
All right. No, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for coming through. The week, of course, is being observed under the theme #RootOutRacism.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you so much indeed. Well, we'll leave it there now for now with Neeshan Balton from the network, of course, and also from the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, talking to us about the Anti-Racism Week, of course, officially kickstarting today. And it ends on?
21st of March.
On the 21st of March, which will be Human Rights Day. We're taking a quick break here.